Dr. Emily Brooks had just given birth to the most beautiful thing she'd ever seen. Her daughter. Their daughter. The baby girl lay in her arms, wrapped in soft blue fabric that the medical staff said was temperature regulating. Something about keeping hybrid babies comfortable. Emily didn't care about the technical details right now. She just stared at her daughter's tiny face. The baby had Emily's green eyes. That made her smile. But there were other features too. Delicate silver markings ran along the baby's temples, shimmering softly like moonlight on water. Those came from her father. From Draven. The markings pulsed gently with each breath the baby took, and Emily found herself mesmerized by the rhythm. "She's perfect," Emily whispered, her voice hoarse from hours of labor. The birth had been difficult. Apparently, human bodies weren't quite designed to carry Vailian hybrid babies. The pregnancy had been rough too. 9 months of complications, special medical care, constant monitoring. But it was all worth it now. Every single painful moment. The medical bay was quiet. Too quiet, actually. Emily looked around, suddenly noticing how sterile everything felt. White walls. Chrome fixtures. The soft hum of alien technology she still didn't fully understand even after 2 years of marriage to a Valyrian. The luxury medical ship they were on, the Eternity's Promise, was supposed to be the best in the sector. Draven had insisted on it. He'd said he wanted only the best for their child. Their child. Emily looked down at her daughter again. "Maya," she said softly, testing the name they'd agreed on. "Little Maya." She heard footsteps. Heavy boots on the metal floor. Emily looked up, expecting to see Draven rushing to her side, eager to hold his daughter for the first time. Instead, she saw him standing at the viewport across the room, his back to her. He wore his formal Valyrian uniform, the deep blue one with all the medals and insignia that Emily never quite understood. His posture was rigid. Military. Wrong. Draven? Emily called out. "Don't you want to meet her? Our daughter?" He didn't turn around immediately. Just kept staring out at the stars beyond the viewport. When he finally spoke, his voice came through the translator device all Valorians wore when speaking to other species. The voice was cold. Clinical. Nothing like the warm tone he'd used during their courtship. "The genetic compatibility trials were successful," Draven said. The translator made his words sound flat, emotionless. "Our daughter proves that human Valorian hybridization is viable on a biological level. The Council will be extremely pleased with the results." Emily felt something twist in her stomach. The way he said it. Like he was filing a report. "Draven, what are you talking about? Come hold your daughter." He turned then, and Emily's breath caught. His face, beautiful in that alien way she'd fallen in love with, showed absolutely nothing. No joy. No excitement. No love. His crystalline eyes, which used to look at her with what she'd thought was affection, were completely empty. "Dr. Brooks," he said, using her title instead of her name. "I am formally requesting dissolution of our bonding contract. Effective immediately." The words didn't make sense at first. Emily's brain, still foggy from exhaustion and pain medication, couldn't process what she was hearing. "What? Draven, I just gave birth. This isn't funny. I assure you, this is not humor. Our marriage was arranged under the Valyrian Genetic Expansion Initiative. The purpose was to test cross-species breeding viability between Valorians and humans. The experiment has concluded successfully. Therefore, the contract is complete." Emily felt like she'd been punched. "Experiment? Draven, we're married. We love each other. You said you loved me." Something flickered across his face. Was it guilt? Pity? Emily couldn't tell. The emotional bonding was necessary to ensure successful mating and pregnancy. Standard protocol for the program. Standard protocol? Emily's voice was getting louder. The baby stirred in her arms, making small sounds. Emily forced herself to speak more quietly. "You're telling me our entire relationship was fake? Our wedding? Everything?" "Not fake. Functional. There is a difference, Dr. Brooks." "Stop calling me that. I'm your wife." "No. You were my assigned breeding partner. The distinction matters under Valyrian law." He pulled out a small datapad from his uniform. "You will receive generous compensation. Your contribution to Valyrian science will be recognized. Financially, you'll never need to work again if you choose not to." Emily couldn't breathe. This couldn't be happening. "And Maya? Our daughter?" The child will be raised in proper Valyrian facilities where her hybrid nature can be properly studied and documented. She represents valuable genetic data. Her development must be monitored in controlled conditions. It's already been arranged. Studied? The word came out like a growl. Emily held Maya closer, her arms tightening protectively. She's a baby. She's our baby, not some lab specimen. You misunderstand your position, Dr. Brooks. Draven's voice remained maddeningly calm. Valyrian law is very clear on this matter. In cases of bonding dissolution, hybrid offspring belong to the Valyrian parent. Full custody. No exceptions. This has been upheld in every court in the Galactic Union. The door to the medical bay slid open. 4 figures entered, all wearing Valyrian security uniforms. They moved with practiced efficiency, fanning out around the room. Emily's heart started racing. What's happening? Draven, what is this? Security will escort you to temporary quarters while the dissolution paperwork is processed. The child will be transferred to the genetics facility within the hour. I've been informed the head researcher is quite excited to begin the developmental studies. One of the security guards stepped forward. Dr. Brooks, please hand over the infant. No. The word came out instinctively. Emily's whole body tensed. She looked at the guard, then at Draven, then back at Maya's tiny sleeping face. No, you can't have her. Dr. Brooks, this will be easier if you cooperate, the guard said, still approaching. Something primal woke up inside Emily. Something old and fierce that had nothing to do with her scientific training or her years of education. It was something deeper. More ancient. The same thing that had driven human mothers to fight off predators back when humans still lived in caves on Earth. Don't touch my daughter, Emily said quietly. The baby sensed the tension and started crying. Those little silver markings pulsed faster, brighter. Draven sighed. This is unnecessary drama, Dr. Brooks. The child is Valyrian property under law. You have no legal standing. Property? Emily's voice shook with rage. She's a person. She's my daughter. She's a hybrid specimen produced under a sanctioned breeding program. The law is clear. The security guard reached for Maya. Emily twisted away, hunching over her daughter protectively. Get away from us. Restrain her if necessary, Draven ordered, his voice still cold. But be careful with the infant. She's valuable. As the guards closed in, Emily looked directly at Draven. Really looked at him. At the man she'd thought she knew. The man she'd loved. The man she'd married in a beautiful ceremony that apparently meant nothing. And she made him a promise. I'm going to show you something, Draven, she said, her voice deadly calm even as hands grabbed at her shoulders. You think you know what humans are. You think we're just another weak species you can use and discard. But you're about to learn why you never, ever corner a human mother. The news feeds across the galaxy exploded with the story. A human woman had escaped from a Valyrian medical facility with a hybrid infant. Security footage showed Dr. Emily Brooks, still wearing a medical gown, running through corridors with her baby wrapped against her chest. The images were grainy but clear enough. Clear enough to show her desperation. Clear enough to show her determination. Emily had managed to slip away during a shift change. She'd studied the security patterns for weeks during her pregnancy, never thinking she'd actually need the information. But some part of her, some instinct, had told her to pay attention. To watch. To learn. She'd stolen medical supplies first. Formula that Maya could digest. Diapers. Temperature regulators for the baby's hybrid physiology. Then she'd hacked into the station's cargo manifest using her scientific clearance codes. Codes that Draven apparently forgot to deactivate. Big mistake. The cargo transport was old, battered, and scheduled to head to the outer spiral territories. The lawless regions where Valyrian authority meant less. Where people asked fewer questions if you had enough credits. Emily had credits. The compensation Draven mentioned had already been deposited into her account. He'd been so sure she'd just take the money and disappear quietly. He was right about the disappearing part. Wrong about the quiet part. The transport pilot was a grizzled alien from a species Emily didn't recognize. 3 eyes, gray skin, and an attitude that said he'd seen everything. He looked at Emily, then at the baby, then at the amount of credits she was offering. Valorian's gonna come looking for you, he said, his voice like gravel in a blender. I know. Gonna be trouble. I know. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he looked at Maya, who was sleeping peacefully despite everything. That your kid? Yes. They trying to take her? Yes. The pilot grunted. Get on board. Keep the kid quiet. We leave in 10 minutes. That was 3 weeks ago. Now Emily was hiding on a forgotten mining station called Outpost Delta, deep in the Kessler Belt. The station was old, barely functional, and home to maybe 200 beings from a dozen different species. Perfect for staying invisible. Maya was sleeping in a makeshift crib Emily had built from cargo containers and spare blankets. The baby was healthy, growing, and completely unaware that half the galaxy was looking for her. Those silver markings on her temples had grown more pronounced. They pulsed when she was happy, dimmed when she was sad. Emily found herself watching them constantly, learning to read her daughter's moods through Valian biology. Emily's quarters were small. One room with a bed, a food processor, and a communication terminal. She'd been using that terminal constantly, digging through galactic databases, searching for anything that could help her. And what she'd found made her sick. Draven had done this before. Multiple times. 8 other species. 12 other women. 19 children. All taken. All raised as Valorians. All part of something called the Genetic Expansion Initiative. Emily pulled up file after file. There was Kia, a Draxian woman who'd married a Valian diplomat. She'd given birth to twins. Both taken. The court case had lasted 2 years and bankrupted her. She lost. There was Myra, from a species called the Hurlans. She hadn't seen her son in 6 years. Every appeal denied. Every lawyer telling her the same thing. Valian law was clear. The children belonged to the Valian parent. The pattern was always the same. A Valian would court someone from another species. Romance. Marriage. Pregnancy. Then divorce right after birth. The children disappeared into Valian facilities, raised to be proof of Valian genetic superiority. Proof that they could improve other species through selective breeding. It was legal. All of it. Because the Valorians had helped write the Galactic Union laws decades ago, back when humanity was still confined to Earth. Emily contacted the Terran embassy through encrypted channels. The response came from an ambassador named Victoria Chen. She was sympathetic but honest. Earth was new to galactic politics. They had some influence but not enough to challenge Valian law directly. Fighting this through normal legal channels would take years. Maybe decades. And Emily would lose. Just like all the others had lost. But Ambassador Chen mentioned something else. Something that made Emily's heart race. When humanity joined the Galactic Union 20 years ago, they'd insisted on including certain rights in their membership treaty. Rights that other species had laughed at. Ancient human traditions that seemed barbaric to civilized galactic society. One of those rights was trial by champion. Single combat to settle disputes. Earth's lawyers had fought hard to include it, arguing it was part of human legal heritage. The Galactic Union had agreed, mostly because they thought humans would never actually use it. Emily spent the next week researching. Trial by champion hadn't been invoked in galactic law for over a century. But it was still valid. Still legal. And it had specific provisions for family disputes. She also spent that week finding others. Parents like her. The Draxian father, whose name was Torvin, lived 3 systems away. He'd lost his twins 4 years ago and had been fighting through legal channels ever since. He was bitter, angry, and broke. When Emily contacted him, he didn't believe her plan would work. But he was willing to help anyway. The Hurlan mother, Lissa, was harder to find. She'd gone into hiding after losing her son, unable to face the memories. But when Emily finally reached her and explained what she wanted to do, Lissa broke down crying. Then she started gathering resources. Medical supplies. Information about Valian combat techniques. Anything that might help. There was a Felixian couple too. They'd mortgaged everything to fight for custody of their daughter. Lost. Now they were working 3 jobs each just to pay off the legal debts. But they still had connections. Lawyers who knew every loophole in Galactic Union law. They started working for free, fueled by the hope that maybe this time would be different. Emily recorded her message on a stolen data recorder. She laid out everything. The genetic experiments. The pattern of seductions and abandonments. The children being raised as trophies. The breeding programs designed to prove Valian superiority. She named names. Showed documentation. Made it impossible to ignore. Then she made her challenge. Direct. Public. Impossible to refuse without looking weak. She challenged Draven to trial by champion. Not just for Maya's custody. For all of them. Every child taken by the Genetic Expansion Initiative. If she won, They all got protection under galactic law. New laws that couldn't be ignored or overturned. She uploaded the message to every major news network in the galaxy. Within hours, it was everywhere. Billions of beings watching a human woman, holding her hybrid daughter, challenging one of the most powerful species in the galaxy. The response was immediate. Valerian officials called it ridiculous. Primitive. A desperate act by an inferior species. They said Emily had no chance. That Valorians were physically superior in every way. That this would be over in minutes. But they accepted. Because refusing would make them look afraid. And Valorians never showed fear. Draven himself gave a statement. Cool. Confident. He said he looked forward to demonstrating Valerian superiority once and for all. That after this was over, the child would be taken to the genetics facility where she belonged. That Emily would be compensated for her time and sent home to Earth. Emily watched his statement from her quarters on Outpost Delta. Maya was nursing, those silver markings pulsing contentedly. When Draven's face appeared on screen, the baby's markings flickered. Like she recognized him somehow. Emily felt her jaw tighten. He thinks he knows what he's dealing with, Emily whispered to her daughter. He thinks humans are weak because we're smaller. Because we're newer to space. Because our planet has lower gravity than his. Maya made a small sound. Not quite a cry. Just a noise. But your father forgot something important, baby girl. He forgot that humans didn't evolve on some nice, comfortable world where everything was easy. We evolved on Earth. And Earth doesn't raise weak children. Emily pulled up training protocols on her terminal. Combat techniques. Endurance exercises. Nutritional programs. She had 3 months before the fight. 3 months to prepare. 3 months to become something Draven wouldn't expect. Outside her window, the Kessler belt spun slowly through space. Rocks and ice and forgotten debris from 1,000 years of mining. Dangerous. Chaotic. Unforgiving. Just like Earth. Just like humanity. Emily smiled. The laughter started almost immediately after Emily's challenge went public. Valerian news networks aired segments analyzing the fight, and every single expert said the same thing. Emily Brooks had no chance. Zero. The fight would last maybe 5 minutes if she was lucky. Probably less. The facts seemed to support them. Valorians had evolved on a high-gravity world. Their bones were denser. Their muscles were stronger. Their reflexes were nearly twice as fast as human reflexes. In every documented physical competition between humans and Valorians, the Valorians won. Every single time. One Valerian combat analyst actually laughed on camera. Humans are adorable, he said, his translator making his condescension crystal clear. But they are soft. They evolved on a gentle world with comfortable gravity. They break easily. This Dr. Brooks will learn that very quickly. Emily watched that segment while doing push-ups in the cargo bay she'd converted into a training space. Maya was sleeping nearby in her portable crib, those silver markings dim and peaceful. Emily finished her set. 50 push-ups. Then she started another set. And another. Soft. She'd show them soft. Her first visitor arrived 2 days after the challenge went public. Torvin, the Draxian father who'd lost his twins. He was massive, easily 8 feet tall with 4 arms and skin like rough stone. He'd been a pit fighter before becoming a father. Now he worked in waste management just to pay his legal bills. He looked at Emily's makeshift training area and shook his head. You're serious about this? Completely. You know Valorians train from childhood, right? Combat is part of their culture. Draven is probably a master of at least 3 fighting styles. I know. Torvin walked around the cargo bay, examining the equipment Emily had scrounged together. Weights made from mining equipment. A punching bag stuffed with sand. You can't beat him in a straight fight. You're not strong enough. Not fast enough. I know that too. Then why are you doing this? Emily stopped her exercises and looked at him. Really looked at him. This massive alien who'd lost his children and spent 4 years fighting a system designed to make him lose. Because someone has to. And because I'm betting on something the Valorians don't understand. What's that? Human mothers don't quit. Ever. We can't win by being stronger. So we'll win by being too stubborn to lose. Something changed in Torvin's expression. He stared at her for a long moment. Then he grunted. All right. I'll train you. But we do this my way. No complaints. No excuses. Emily nodded. Deal. The training started the next morning at 5 a.m. Torvin woke her by dumping a bucket of ice water on her head. Valorians don't wait for you to be ready, he growled. Get up. We're running. They ran through the corridors of Outpost Delta. 5 miles. Then 10. Then 15. Emily's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. She wanted to stop. To rest. But every time she slowed down, she thought about Maya. About those 19 other children being raised in facilities, studied like experiments. She kept running. Torvin taught her something crucial in those first few weeks. Valorians are sprinters, he explained while Emily gasped for air after a training session. Their high-gravity evolution made them powerful but not efficient. They win fights fast or they don't win at all. So I make the fight long, Emily panted. Exactly. You make him chase you. Wear him down. Humans are endurance hunters, right? Your ancestors chased prey for hours until it collapsed from exhaustion. Do that. The second person to join her training was completely unexpected. A human. Lieutenant Jake Morrison from the Terran Marines. He'd been stationed on a nearby outpost and heard about Emily's challenge. He showed up unannounced with a duffel bag full of equipment. He said, snapping a crisp salute. I'm here to teach you how humans actually fight. Emily blinked. I thought the Terran military couldn't get officially involved. They can't. I'm on leave. Personal time. What I do with it is my business. He dropped the duffel bag. Various weapons clattered inside. The brass won't say it publicly, but every human in the service is watching this. You're fighting for all of us. For our reputation out here. Jake's training was brutal. He taught her dirty tricks that weren't in any official combat manual. How to use an opponent's strength against them. Where to strike to cause maximum damage with minimum effort. How to fight when you're injured, exhausted, and outmatched. Forget honor, Jake said while showing her a particularly vicious elbow strike. Forget fair fighting. The only rule that matters is winning. Valorians fight like it's art. Like it's beautiful. You fight like your life depends on it. Because it does. Emily trained 6 hours a day. Sometimes 8. Her body transformed. Muscles she didn't know she had started appearing. Her reflexes sharpened. Her strikes became faster, more precise. But the most important visitor came in week 5. A woman named Dr. Yora, a Draxian biomechanic who specialized in comparative physiology. She brought data. Lots of data. Everyone focuses on what Valorians do better, Yora explained, pulling up holographic charts. But nobody talks about what humans do better. Let me show you. The charts displayed side-by-side comparisons. Vailian versus human biology. Valorians are faster in short bursts. Stronger pound for pound. But look at this. She highlighted a section. Human cardiovascular systems are incredibly efficient. You can maintain 70% of maximum exertion for hours. Valorians? Maybe 20 minutes before their performance drops significantly. More charts appeared. Temperature regulation. Humans are exceptional at it. You sweat. You cool down efficiently. Valorians overheat quickly during sustained activity. Their high-gravity evolution never required good cooling systems. So I can outlast him, Emily said, studying the data. If you're smart about it, yes. There's more. Pain tolerance. Yura pulled up neurological scans. Humans have remarkable pain management abilities. You can function through injuries that would incapacitate most species. It's a survival adaptation from your death world. Emily had never thought of Earth as a death world before. But looking at the data, she understood. Earth's variable gravity zones, extreme temperature swings, aggressive fauna, disease load. Humans evolved to survive conditions that would kill most galactic species. We're not weak, Emily whispered. We're just built for different things. Exactly. Valorians are built for short, decisive victories. Humans are built for survival. For endurance. For refusing to die when you probably should. The training intensified. Emily learned to read Vailian body language from videos of their fighters. She studied Draven specifically, watching old footage of him in ceremonial combat demonstrations. He was good. Incredibly good. Fast, precise, powerful. But she noticed something. Every fight ended quickly. He never went past 10 minutes. None of the Vailian fighters did. Lissa, the Hurlan mother, sent supplies from across the galaxy. Specialized nutrition packs designed for endurance athletes. Medical nanits that would help Emily recover from training faster. For my son, the message said. Win this for all of them. The Felixian couple's lawyers found something crucial in the combat law. Emily could choose the arena conditions: temperature, gravity, duration limits. Most fighters chose comfortable settings. Emily chose Earth standard. Normal gravity for her. Low gravity for Draven. Temperature at 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Warm enough to make a Valyrian uncomfortable over time. "You're stacking the deck," Torvin observed. "Damn right I am. This isn't about honor. It's about my daughter." 3 months passed in a blur of training, studying, and preparing. Emily's hands developed calluses. Her body became lean and hard. Jake taught her to fight with weapons and without them. Torvin taught her to endure when everything hurt. Yura taught her to think, to use intelligence as a weapon. Maya grew during those months. Started recognizing her mother's face. Those silver markings would pulse brightly whenever Emily held her after training. The baby was healthy, happy, unaware that her entire future depended on what was coming. Emily allowed herself 1 day off per week. Just her and Maya. No training. No studying. Just being a mother. Reading stories. Playing simple games. Making funny faces that made the baby laugh. Those days kept her sane. Reminded her why she was doing this. News coverage of the upcoming fight grew intense. Betting markets opened across the galaxy. The odds were brutal. 100 to 1 against Emily. Some markets had her at 500 to 1. Nobody gave her a chance. Except the parents. The ones who'd lost children to Valyrian programs. They sent messages. Hundreds of them. Thousands. Stories of their own losses. Words of encouragement. Prayers in a dozen different languages from species Emily had never heard of. One message came from a human woman on Earth. Her daughter had married a Valyrian against her family's advice. Now she was fighting for custody of her grandson. "You're carrying all our hopes," the message said. "Every mother who's ever lost a child. Every parent who's been told they're not good enough. You fight for all of us." Emily saved that message. Read it before every training session. The final week arrived. Emily stopped heavy training. Just light exercises, flexibility work, mental preparation. Jake drilled her on strategy over and over until she could recite it in her sleep. Torvin made her practice falling, rolling, taking hits without serious injury. Yura came by one last time with final medical scans. "You're in the best shape of your life," she said. "Physically, you're ready. And mentally?" Yura smiled. "You're a human mother fighting for her child. You were born ready." The night before the fight, Emily couldn't sleep. She held Maya, rocking her gently while staring out at the stars. Tomorrow, everything would change. Win or lose. Life or death. Maya's silver markings pulsed softly in the darkness. The baby yawned, perfectly content in her mother's arms. "I love you," Emily whispered. "And I'm going to win. Not because I'm stronger. Not because I'm faster. But because I'm your mother. And human mothers don't lose when their children are at stake." Outside, transport ships were already heading to Neutral Station Sigma 7. The arena was prepared. The galaxy was watching. Emily Brooks, exhausted xenobiologist from Earth, was about to teach the Valorians something they'd forgotten. Never underestimate a human. Neutral Station Sigma 7 was massive, built specifically for events that needed to be completely impartial. The main arena could hold 200,000 spectators, and every single seat was filled. Beings from across the galaxy had come to witness this. The Valyrian sections were packed with dignified officials in their formal attire, absolutely certain of their champion's victory. The human sections were smaller but loud, desperate for their representative to prove something the galaxy didn't believe possible. Emily stood in the preparation room, her hands wrapped in protective tape. The armor she wore was minimal, just lightweight plates over her chest and joints. Nothing that would slow her down. She'd chosen mobility over protection. Speed over defense. Her weapons lay on the table beside her. A composite staff, light but unbreakable. A blade forged from earth steel, simple and sharp. Jake stood nearby, going through the plan one final time. "First 10 minutes, you stay defensive. Don't engage. Make him chase you. Let him think he's dominant." "Got it," Emily said, rolling her shoulders. 20 minutes in, he'll start getting frustrated. Valorians don't train for long fights. He'll push harder, try to end it. That's when he makes mistakes. And that's when I start hitting back. Small shots. Nothing committed. Just enough to sting. Enough to make him angry." Jake gripped her shoulder. "Remember, Angry fighters make stupid decisions. Torvin ducked through the doorway, barely fitting his massive frame into the room. The arena's at Earth standard conditions. Temperatures already making the Valorians uncomfortable. Good choice. Emily nodded. Through the walls, she could hear the crowd. The announcer was building excitement, explaining the rules to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Combat continues until someone surrenders, gets knocked unconscious, or dies. All legal. All binding. Whatever happens in that arena decides everything. A screen on the wall showed Draven in his own preparation room. He wore a gleaming combat exosuit, ceremonial but functional. The suit enhanced his already superior strength and speed. He looked calm, confident, like this was just another day. Like Emily was just another obstacle to remove. The door opened. An official from the Quorum species entered, neutral and precise. 5 minutes, Dr. Brooks. Emily stood. Jake handed her the staff. Torvin checked her armor one last time. Yora's voice came through a small earpiece Emily wore. Your vitals look good. Heart rate elevated but steady. You're ready. Thanks. All of you. For everything. Jake saluted. Torvin just nodded, his forearms crossed. Win this. For all of us. Emily walked through the corridor toward the arena entrance. The sound of the crowd grew louder with each step. Cheering, shouting, the buzz of 200,000 voices mixing together. The announcer's voice boomed through speakers. Entering now, from Earth, Dr. Emily Brooks. Fighting for custody of her daughter and legal protection for all hybrid children across the galaxy. The arena doors opened. Light flooded in, blinding after the dim corridor. Emily stepped out onto the sand-covered floor. The crowd's noise hit her like a physical force. She looked up at the stands. Saw the Valian sections, calm and superior. Saw the human sections, waving Earth flags, screaming encouragement. In a special viewing box, she saw them. The parents. Torvin. Lissa. The Felixian couple. Dozens of others. Parents who'd lost children. Parents who'd fought and lost. They were all standing, watching her with desperate hope. The opposite door opened. Draven entered, and the Valian sections erupted in polite applause. He moved like liquid metal, smooth and effortless. His combat suit gleamed under the arena lights. He looked at Emily across the sand, and even from this distance, she could see the confidence in his posture. The Quorum magistrate floated to the center of the arena on an anti-gravity platform. Its 3 eyes swiveled between Emily and Draven. The challenge has been issued and accepted. Combat will proceed under Galactic Union law. Do both parties understand the terms? Yes, Draven said, his voice amplified across the arena. Yes, Emily replied, surprised her voice didn't shake. For genetic superiority and the future of the Valian people, Draven announced, raising his fist. The Valian sections roared approval. Emily said nothing. She just thought of Maya, safe with Lissa in a secure location far from here. Thought of her daughter's face. Her smile. Those silver markings pulsing with innocent happiness. The magistrate raised one appendage. Begin. Draven moved. He was impossibly fast. 1 second he was 30 feet away, the next he was right there, his blade cutting through the air where Emily's head had been. But Emily wasn't there anymore. She'd already dodged, reading his movement from the microshifts in his posture that 3 months of studying Valian fighters had taught her to recognize. His blade struck sand. Emily was already rolling away, staff in hand, creating distance. Draven pursued. Of course he did. Valorians were aggressive fighters, trained to overwhelm opponents with superior speed and power. His strikes came in combinations, fluid and practiced. Each one could have ended the fight. Each one missed by inches. Emily didn't try to block. Blocking would mean matching strength, and she'd lose that contest. Instead, she dodged. Ducked. Rolled. Made him chase her across the arena. The crowd's noise changed, confusion mixing with the cheers. This wasn't the quick victory they'd expected. 5 minutes in, Emily hadn't thrown a single attack. Just defense. Just movement. Draven's strikes were still lightning fast, still precise, but she noticed his breathing. Slightly heavier. Not much. But enough. Running won't save you, Draven called out, his translator making his words clear. You're only delaying the inevitable. Emily didn't respond. Didn't waste breath on words. Just kept moving. 10 minutes. Draven's attacks were still dominant, still dangerous, but the arena's temperature was Earth standard. 75 degrees. Comfortable for Emily. Warm for someone from a cooler, high-gravity world. She saw the first drops of sweat on Draven's face. His species could sweat, but not efficiently. Not like humans. 15 minutes. The crowd was getting restless. The Valerian sections were starting to murmur. This should have been over by now. Emily's armor showed damage where near misses had clipped her. But she was still moving. Still fluid. She saw her opening. A slight overextension as Draven committed to a heavy strike. Emily's staff whipped out, catching him across the thigh. Not hard enough to injure. Just hard enough to sting. To prove she could touch him. The crowd erupted. First blood went to Emily. Not literally blood, but first contact. First point. Draven's expression changed. The confidence cracked slightly. He increased his aggression, burning energy for a decisive finish. But Emily did what humans do best. She adapted. Every exchange taught her his patterns. Every attack revealed his training's limitations. Valorians learned combat as art, as demonstration of superiority. Humans learned combat as survival. 20 minutes. Draven was breathing hard now. His suit's enhancements couldn't overcome basic physiology. His species wasn't built for sustained warfare. Emily's chest heaved too, sweat soaking her clothes, but her cardiovascular system was doing what evolution designed it to do. Enduring. 30 minutes. The impossible was becoming apparent to everyone watching. Draven was slowing. Not much. But enough. His strikes still came fast, but they lacked the initial precision. Emily had taken hits, her armor cracked, blood trickling from a cut above her eye. But she was still fighting. Still moving. Still human. How? Draven gasped, genuine confusion in his voice. How are you still standing? Emily finally spoke, her voice rough but clear. Because I'm fighting for my daughter. And you're just fighting to prove you're better than me. She saw it then. The frustration. The anger. Draven abandoned his careful technique and lunged with pure aggression. Exactly what Jake had said would happen. Angry fighters make mistakes. Emily sidestepped, using his momentum against him. Her staff caught his knee, and for the first time, Draven stumbled. The crowd went absolutely wild. 45 minutes. Draven was exhausted. His superior body was betraying him, muscles designed for explosive power now screaming from sustained exertion. Emily was in pain, bleeding from multiple cuts, her body battered. But she was still moving forward. 60 minutes. The fight entered territory no Valerian combat had ever reached in recorded history. Draven's movements were sluggish now, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The arena's temperature, so comfortable for Emily, had him overheating. His cooling system couldn't handle it. Emily saw her moment. Not through superior skill. Not through technique. Through simple, brutal human endurance. She dropped her weapons. Draven's exhausted swing left him open, and Emily did what her species had done to survive predators and rivals for millions of years. She got close. Got inside his guard. Used the grip strength evolution gave humans for climbing trees and holding tools. Her arms wrapped around his neck from behind, cutting off blood flow to his brain. Draven tried to throw her off. 3 months ago, he could have done it easily. But not now. Not after an hour of fighting. Not after his body had burned through every reserve of energy trying to end this quickly. He struggled. Weakened. Slumped. Emily held on, counting seconds, making absolutely sure. When Draven finally went limp, she let him fall to the sand and staggered backward. The arena fell completely silent. Then the human sections exploded with noise. Screaming. Crying. Cheering. The other species sections joined in, all those parents standing and shouting. Even some Valorians sat stunned, unable to process what they just witnessed. Emily stood over Draven's unconscious form, gasping for air, bleeding, exhausted beyond anything she'd ever experienced. She looked up at the cameras, knowing billions were watching, and spoke into the silence. Human mothers don't surrender their children. Not to you. Not to anyone. Never. The magistrate floated down, verified Draven was alive but unconscious, and raised Emily's hand. Victory to Emily Brooks of Earth. The galaxy had just learned something it wouldn't forget. Humans weren't the strongest. Weren't the fastest. But they were too stubborn to quit. And sometimes, that was enough. The medical team rushed onto the arena floor within seconds of the magistrate's announcement. They went to Draven first, checking his vital signs, making sure the chokehold hadn't caused permanent damage. Emily stood there, swaying on her feet, barely able to process what had just happened. Her vision was blurry from sweat and blood. Her entire body screamed in pain. But she'd won. She'd actually won. Jake was suddenly there, catching her before she collapsed. "You did it," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "You crazy, stubborn human. You actually did it." Torvin arrived next, his massive frame pushing through the crowd of officials and medical staff. He didn't say anything. Just placed one of his 4 hands on her shoulder and squeezed gently. Emily looked up and saw tears running down his rocky face. For his twins. For the hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd see them again. The arena was chaos. The human sections were still screaming, people hugging strangers, crying, laughing. The Valyrian sections sat in stunned silence. Some looked angry. Some looked confused. A few, mostly younger Valorians, looked thoughtful. Like they were seeing something they'd never considered before. Medical staff finally reached Emily. A Herland doctor, surprisingly gentle, started scanning her injuries. 3 cracked ribs. Multiple contusions. Severe muscle strain. "You need immediate treatment." "Maya first," Emily mumbled. "Need to see my daughter." "You need medical attention." "Maya first." Emily's voice was firm despite her exhaustion. The doctor looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Stubborn species, you humans. Very well. Brief visit, then treatment. No arguments." They brought Emily to a private medical bay where Lissa was waiting with Maya. The Herland woman was crying, holding the baby carefully. When she saw Emily, she broke down completely. "You won. You actually won. My son. I might actually get my son back." Emily took Maya in her arms, and the baby's silver markings immediately pulsed bright and happy. Despite everything Emily had just been through, despite the pain and exhaustion, holding her daughter made everything worth it. Maya cooed, reaching up to touch her mother's face, completely unaware that her entire future had just been secured. "Hey, baby girl," Emily whispered. "Mommy won. You're safe now. You're mine." The next few hours were a blur of medical treatment, legal officials, and media requests. Emily refused all interviews initially. She just wanted to rest, to hold Maya, to process everything. But Ambassador Victoria Chen from the Terran Embassy arrived with news that couldn't wait. "The Galactic Union Council has called an emergency session," Victoria explained, sitting beside Emily's medical bed. "Your victory under their own legal framework has created a crisis. The Valyrian genetic superiority doctrine just got publicly demolished. If they were truly superior, Draven should have won easily." "What does that mean for the children?" Emily asked, shifting Maya to her other arm. "Everything. Custody cases across the galaxy are being reopened. The legal precedent you've established can't be ignored. Hybrid children now have protected status pending a complete review of interspecies family law." Emily felt tears running down her face. "All of them? All 19 from Draven's marriages? All of them. Plus hundreds more from similar Valyrian programs. And it's not just Valorians. Other species had similar programs, less organized but still exploitative. Your fight just changed everything." Over the following days, the galaxy's response unfolded in waves. First came the legal changes. Emergency motions. Temporary protections. Courts across dozens of systems suddenly reviewing cases they'd previously dismissed. Parents who'd given up hope were getting calls from lawyers saying their cases had been reopened. Torvin got his twins back within a week. Emily saw the footage on the news feeds. The massive Draxian father, this hardened pit fighter who worked in waste management to pay legal bills, dropping to his knees when his children ran to him. He was sobbing, holding them, repeating my babies," over and over. Emily cried watching it, holding Maya close. Lissa's reunion with her son took longer, but it happened. 6 years since she'd last held him. The boy was older now, raised in Valyrian facilities, confused about why this strange alien woman kept hugging him and crying. But Lissa didn't care. She had time now. Time to help him remember. Time to be his mother again. The Felixian couple not only got their daughter back but received financial compensation for their legal battles. Other species started coming forward with their own stories. A Draxian mother. A Carathian father. Dozens of parents who'd been too afraid or too broke to fight. Now they had hope. But the political fallout was massive. The Valyrian government faced its first real crisis in generations. Their entire expansion initiative was exposed not as scientific progress but as cultural imperialism. Taking children from other species to raise as proof of Valyrian superiority. The younger generation of Valorians, especially those serving in diplomatic positions, were horrified. A faction emerged calling themselves the Reformists. They argued that true strength came from cooperation, not domination. That diversity made species stronger, not weaker. They pointed to Emily's victory as proof that the old ways of thinking were flawed. The older, conservative Valorians fought back. They claimed Draven had simply been unprepared for such primitive tactics. That trial by combat was a barbaric human tradition that proved nothing. But their arguments rang hollow. The entire galaxy had watched. Had seen a human mother, supposedly from an inferior species, defeat a Vailian champion in fair combat. Draven himself disappeared from public view for weeks. When he finally made a statement, it was brief and in his own language. Human translators struggled with the nuance, but the general meaning came through. Something about underestimating the strength found in love. Something about learning that superiority couldn't be measured by physical attributes alone. Some Valorians called him weak for the statement. Others called him brave for admitting fault. Emily returned to Earth briefly. The homecoming was overwhelming. Crowds at the spaceport. Parades. Interview requests from every major network. Earth's government wanted to give her medals, honors, political positions. She declined most of it. Instead, she established the Hybrid Rights Foundation. Funded by donations from dozens of species across the galaxy, the organization's mission was simple. Protect children of mixed heritage. Provide legal support to families fighting custody battles. Create educational programs to help hybrid children understand both sides of their heritage. The Foundation's first major project was creating integrated childhood development programs. Emily worked with Vailian specialists, the same ones who'd originally wanted to study Maya in isolation. But instead of conflict, they found common ground. Together, they designed programs where hybrid children could learn about both their heritages. Where human resilience and Vailian elegance could combine into something new. Something better. 6 months after the fight, Emily gave her first major interview. She sat in a comfortable studio with Maya playing nearby. The baby was bigger now, walking a bit, those silver markings constantly pulsing with curiosity. The interviewer was a Vailian journalist, one of the young reformists. "What was it like, knowing you were physically outmatched?" the journalist asked. Emily watched Maya stack blocks, human determination on her face as she tried to build a tower. Every human parent faces impossible odds. We carry our children in bodies that could fail. We birth them in pain our species evolved to endure. We raise them in a galaxy that might hurt them. But we do it anyway. Because of love. Because love is stronger than fear. That's not uniquely human. That's universal. Every parent in every species feels that. The Valorians just forgot it for a while. But you fought. You risked everything. Emily smiled. I looked at centuries of lore and power and genetic superiority doctrines and said no. My daughter is mine, and you can't have her. Humans have been saying that to predators, disasters, and impossible odds since before we left our caves. The galaxy just forgot that determination is its own kind of strength. The interview ended with footage that would become famous across the Galactic Union. Emily and Maya walking through a mixed-species marketplace on a frontier station. Maya's markings pulsed with excitement at seeing alien vendors, new foods, strange creatures. Her laugh was pure human joy. Her curiosity was pure Vailian intensity. She was both and neither. She was something new. Behind them in the footage, visible in the crowd, were other mixed families. Other hybrid children. All protected now. All free. The galaxy was changing, slowly but surely. The Vailian Expansion Initiative officially ended 8 months after Emily's victory. It was replaced by the Cooperative Heritage Program, designed with input from dozens of species. The new program focused on mutual understanding, cultural exchange, and protecting family rights regardless of species. Emily received a private message from Draven. She almost deleted it without reading. But curiosity won. The message was simple. She has your eyes. And your determination. She will be extraordinary. Emily looked at Maya, now trying to climb onto a chair to reach a toy. Failing. Trying again. Refusing to give up. Very human. The silver markings on her temples pulsed with frustration. Very Vailian. Yes, Emily whispered. She will be. 10 years later, Maya Chendraven stood before the Galactic Youth Council. At 10 years old, she was the youngest member ever elected. Her speech was broadcast across civilized space, delivered in perfect universal standard with occasional silver pulses for emphasis. I am proof that strength doesn't come from genetic purity, Maya said, her voice clear and confident. It comes from embracing what makes us different. My mother taught me that by fighting for me. My father taught me that by learning to admit he was wrong. The galaxy is changing, but not because one species proved they're better. Because we all learned that working together creates something impossible to achieve alone. In the audience, Emily watched her daughter and felt her chest swell with pride. Beside her sat Draven. She'd invited him despite their history. Despite everything. Because Maya deserved to know both her parents. Both her heritages. He leaned over and whispered, "You won more than a fight that day." Emily thought about it. About all the children reunited with their families. About the laws that changed. About the galaxy learning that love and determination could overcome genetic superiority doctrines and ancient power structures. "No," she said quietly. "We all won. You just had to lose first to see it." The galaxy, watching a hybrid child advocate for unity and understanding, couldn't disagree. Humanity had proven something important. Not that they were superior. But that they were human. And being human meant never, ever giving up on the people you love. That lesson would echo across the stars for generations to come.